5 people on board a tourist submarine. Still missing this morning, folks, after losing contact during an expedition to the Titanic shipwreck. So what do we know about the Titan sub? Well, it was developed with help from NASA and Boeing. It's an experimental vessel, not been approved by any Navy. For more on this, let's bring in the retired Navy Commodore Peter Scott, who served for more than 30 years in the Australian Navy on 10 different submarines. Peter, good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time. As we just mentioned there, unfortunately, it still hasn't been found. So let's start with your thoughts on where that search is at this morning.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. Very difficult search circumstances. You know, that submarine, very small submarine to start with, a long way off the coast of Canada and in, you know, exceptionally deep water. So the job is really there for the authorities searching for that submarine.
What do you think happened?
I really do hesitate to speculate. I think you could put what happened into some broad scenarios. You know,
Yeah.
Clearly the submersible might have suffered a flood, which if it was at depth would have been catastrophic. If it suffered an onboard fire, you know, there may have been some limited damage there, but that would also introduce some toxic gases into a pretty limited air supply. It may have lost power, and that's likely to have impacts on things like communications, and clearly they lost communication several days ago. But it's also likely to mean that they don't have lighting on board or heating on board as well. So, you know, typically a circumstance like this, you'd never really know until you're able to locate the vessel and investigate it.
Okay, well, let's turn to a best case scenario here, Peter, then. Let's say it's there, you know, you've only got about 40 hours of oxygen left, but let's say they do find it and the folks are alive at this stage. How do you then get it up?
Yeah, so I'd actually say the best case scenario, Peter, is if it's up already, if it is on the surface already,
Right.
but just not yet located. And that's possible because, you know, again, it's a small submarine, even on the surface, very low freeboard and quite hard to detect, particularly given some of the weather conditions that they've suffered. If it is on the bottom, pardon me, certainly they have to locate it, but also identify it. You know, there's a lot of debris scattered around the bottom of the ocean near Titanic. If they're able to locate it and identify it, they're going to need to get a remotely operated vehicle down to the submarine and connect cables to it to be able to haul it up. My understanding is that the vessels that might be capable of salvaging the submarine are not yet on site. So that's still a little way away yet.
So, I mean, the chances of doing that within 40 hours are pretty slim?
I expect they're very slim at the moment, yes.
When we talked about it being an experimental vessel, I know it's been said before, particularly from someone who was just on board last week, and we're hoping to talk to him next hour, actually. He talked about off-the-shelf components that were on board the vessel. It was steered by a controller as well. I mean, can this kind of stuff be acceptable when you're going into such a dangerous part of the world?
Well, yeah, it depends on who's accepting the risk. I think you know, one contrast would be, you know, the submarines that we operate effectively fly by wire. Now, we're not out there on Xbox controllers, but you know, they're digitally controlled, and you know, often the technology might appear playful but still be quite capable. So I do understand that the submersible has not been governed by a regulating body. So you know, that certainly opens up some risks on oversight of the capability.
Just explain it as well, Peter, if you wouldn't mind, just with the sort of pressure that vessel would be under 4,000 metres below the water's surface.
Yeah, it's immense. So effectively every 10 metres below the surface, you add an atmosphere's worth of pressure. So
wow.
The pressure down there is about 380 times what you would experience walking around on the land surface today.
Okay. Yeah, and Peter, I mean, look, I guess we can all draw our own conclusions here, and we can only speculate until we know hard proof. But is your hunch that this is not going to have a happy ending?
Look, I would resist that making a statement on a hunch like that at the moment. At the moment, you know, the estimates are that there is still survivable. Potentially survivable atmosphere on board. And I know that the authorities conducting the search and rescue mission will continue to conduct it as a search and rescue mission until that hope has expired. And I think we're not quite at that point yet.
Okay. Peter Scott, retired Navy Commodore, really appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for your insight, and we will talk to you again soon. Yeah, we can just hope for the best there.